I'm in a woods type situation here, and I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about snaring in the woods and trying to stay away from deer catches. There's a lot of good snare locations in woods. There's lots of trails running through woods. We're on a dandy trail right here. I know there's fox coming out of the cornfields that's behind us, coming in through this woods, but I also know that there's deer out there in them cornfields, and they're coming in on this same trail. I'd like to be able to make a snare set on this trail, take the fox, but not the deer. There's a couple ways to do it, but the most effective way that I've found is to use kind of a straddle stick method. It's not really a jump stick. Most people that use jump sticks use them wrong because a deer most generally won't jump over, they'll go under and you'll snare them anyway. I'd like to also demonstrate how that W system works on them snare supports. Get my snare undone here. This is the 5/64 cable size for fox. This is a 5-foot snare. And then my support wire. I'm going to select the place on the trail that kind of fences that fox down through. And we've got kind of a tree or a branch kind of laying in over here. And we've got this other branch kind of laying here. And we've got all this brush here. In other words, it's wide out here and it narrows down here, kind of funnel place. That's a good place to put your snare set in the woods. And I'm going to want to get my support wire over here along this trail. Take my hammer. Right on this little round place here, I'm going to just hammer it into the ground. Nice and tight so you got good support there. Notice it's a short support wire. That's because we're snaring for fox. Then what I like to do is just lay my snare loop out and select my loop size. For fox, I like 6, 7, 8-inch loop. We're going to be able to confine him here a little bit so we can go with a little smaller loop. Let's say just about a 7 inches, which is just about as big as my hand. I'll gather that loop size and I'll hold that lock at that loop size. Maybe form the cable a little bit, pushing on that cable to get you that round loop. And then I'll come up to the support wire and I'll weave it through. Go right inside there, over the top, and then back under. Just kind of weave it through and just let your snare hang up there. You can wrap the tail once, and then I've got this double swivel set up on my snares. I can go right away, run through that end chain swivel, and stake my snare. Okay, now I would like to get the snare loop positioned in the perfect spot to catch that fox. So I'm going to do all my positioning with the support wire. I'm going to try to turn it to get it a little bit straighter. Remember, we want that loop hanging up and down perpendicular to the trail, and then we want to bow that in place. I'm just bending that support wire any way I need to bend it to make absolutely sure that that'll be in the right position for that fox. I like it about 5 or 6 inches off the ground. It's just about right. Now, to get our jump or our cross stick in place to make sure that those deer don't go through here. What I'm going to do is take another pole, get it up here next to our support, and lean it up in here against this other kind of a branch that's hanging in here. I'll take a piece of wire, wrap around the top here, kind of secure that. A lot of times in the woods you can just prop things up, you can just prop one thing to the other, but I've found if you'll take that little extra time to wire something up, if you do get a bad windstorm or some bad weather, you're going to have a lot less problem with that blowing down and then catching a deer later. Wouldn't hurt to get a stick or two in here to help kind of camouflage this, also to help hold it in place. We could take a little bit of dirt too if there's any white showing on some of these sticks and just smear that over the top. What I found best for me is to have this lock at about 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock, looking at this as 12 o'clock on the snare loop. Because if you don't want that snare loop to be in a 12 o'clock position or a gallows shape, kind of hanging like this. You want that snare lock to be kind of kicked back. You want the top of your snare loop to be more or less flat and then go into your round shape. Now the reason this works well is because a jump stick, which would lay across the trail like this, a deer won't jump over, he'll go under and you'll snare him. what we're doing, here's the very center of the trail right here. Our snare is offset in the trail. We're forcing them predators over to one side, which is really unnatural in snaring. But what we're doing with this stick is remembering that a fox's small body. The fox's body is down here. He would rather take this low road or go in between these two sticks on his travels down this path. Whereas a deer has a big body up here, it's going to want to stay in this space. This is a big space up here for the deer to work through. So your deer will step around your snare and your fox will go through your snare. After you got the snare set in, kind of look back at your deer trail, thinking about the deer coming the other way. Maybe clear out a few of these branches. Tear them off. You want to keep the obstruction low down here so your fox doesn't take this round road. But up here you want to make sure that you got as much of that cleared as possible to make it look awful inviting for a deer to take the high road around, and you can pick up the fox in the low road.